Chosen one, why are you still awake at this hour? Why does your soul feel restless on the very last night of November? Like something inside you knows this isn't just another ending, but a threshold you were born to cross. Why, when everyone else is asleep, are your eyes fixed on these words as the final seconds of this month tick away? Listen to me carefully. This is not a scroll. This is a summons. If something in your chest is already stirring, if your spirit just recognized its own name being called, drop 70 sen in the comments right now. Don't think, don't hesitate. Let heaven see you're awake. Let the angels take notice that you showed up on the last day, the final hour, when most people had already given up. Because here's what they don't tell you about divine timing. Messages don't land on the last day of a month by accident. They land when heaven is closing one door and violently opening another. You thought November was just another month of doctor appointments and empty chairs at your dinner table. Another 30 days of watching the phone that never rings, taking pills that barely work, and wondering if anyone even remembers your name. You thought it was just more of the same loneliness, the same ache, the same invisible existence. But what if I told you that every single moment of this month, every tear you cried at 3 a.m., every time you felt forgotten, every night you lay awake wondering if God had moved on without you, what if all of that was a test, not punishment, a test? And beloved, you passed. Your November wasn't random, it was orchestrated. God watched every hour, He counted every tear. He recorded every moment you chose faith when giving up would have been easier. And now on this final night, He's saying something that will shatter everything you thought you knew about your future. Before we go deeper, I want to pause and thank every single one of you who has supported this message through super thanks. Your generosity means more than you know. You're not just donating, you're helping spread light to others who feel alone in their calling. Whether you give or not, I'm deeply grateful for your presence here. Your support, your time, your attention, it all matters. And if this message resonates with your soul, go ahead and let the Spirit lead your heart. But right now, right here, at the end of November, heaven is making a declaration over your life. At the stroke of midnight, something shifts. At the turning of this month, something breaks open. At the closing of these 30 days, something that has been locked for decades releases. At the end of this message, I will show you exactly what opens for you when December begins. But first we must uncover why you were tested, why November had to hurt, why you had to walk through fire to reach this threshold. Because what's waiting on the other side? You weren't ready for it 30 days ago, but you are now. Why have you felt so exhausted this month when you barely left your house? Why has every morning felt like climbing a mountain you can't see? Why, when nothing dramatic happened on the outside, has everything inside you been screaming? Listen to me, beloved, November wasn't just a month. It was a divine examination. And while you thought you were just surviving another 30 days of loneliness and pain, heaven was watching something far more profound. God was testing 8 hidden chambers of your soul, chambers that most people don't even know exist. Let me show you what you walked through. And as I speak these words, I want you to feel the weight of what you've endured. Because you need to understand, this wasn't normal struggle. This was strategic warfare. The first chamber, faith under pressure. When your bank account screamed empty and the bills kept coming. When the doctor's report came back worse than expected. When your own children forgot to call again. You had every logical reason to panic, to curse God, to give up. But somewhere in the deepest part of you, you whispered, I still trust you. That wasn't weakness. That was the faith that moves mountains. James 1:3 tells us, the testing of your faith produces perseverance. You thought you were barely holding on. God saw you holding firm. The second chamber, response to spiritual attack. Those nightmares that came out of nowhere. That sudden wave of depression that hit you like a freight train. Those thoughts that whispered, "Just give up," when you were trying to pray. You felt crazy. You felt alone. But chosen one, you were under direct assault from forces that recognized what God placed in you. And instead of surrendering, you got on your knees. You opened that Bible. You declared His word over your life even when your voice shook. 1 Peter 3:18 warns us, "Your adversary the devil walks about like a roaring lion, seeking whom he may devour." He tried to devour you. You're still here. That means you won. The third chamber, hidden faithfulness. Nobody saw you pray at 4 a.m. when sleep wouldn't come. Nobody witnessed you worship through tears when your body ached. Nobody applauded when you chose forgiveness over bitterness, when you gave your last $20, when you encouraged someone else while your own heart was breaking. But Hebrews 15 declares, God is not unjust. He will not forget your work and the love you have shown. Every hidden act of obedience was recorded. Every secret sacrifice was seen. You served an audience of one, and that one is about to reward you publicly. The fourth chamber, standing alone. They called you extreme. They said you were too religious. Your own family rolled their eyes when you talked about God. Friends you've known for decades suddenly became distant. And there you stood, elderly, isolated, wondering if maybe they were right. Maybe you were too much, but beloved. Noah stood alone for 20 years building an ark. Moses stood alone before Pharaoh. Elijah stood alone on Mount Carmel. Standing alone isn't punishment. It's proof you're standing with God. The fifth chamber, endurance under prolonged warfare. This wasn't a bad week. This was a brutal month. Day after day after day of waking up tired, going to bed exhausted and wondering when it would end. Your body hurt, your mind was foggy, your spirit felt crushed. But Romans 5:3 reveals the secret. Suffering produces perseverance. Perseverance, character, and character, hope. Every day you got up when staying down seemed easier, you were building something eternal inside you. Warriors aren't made in moments. They're forged through seasons. The sixth chamber, trust when God is silent. You prayed and heard nothing. You cried out and felt emptiness. You begged for answers and received only silence. Where was God when you needed Him most? Listen carefully. He was exactly where He was when His own Son hung on that cross crying, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" He was working in ways your human eyes couldn't see. Psalm 4:6-10 commands, "Be still and know that I am God." The silence wasn't absence. It was invitation to trust without evidence. The seventh chamber, integrity when compromise was easy. You could have lied to make things easier. You could have cut corners nobody would have noticed. You could have compromised your values when no one was watching. But you didn't. Even when your integrity cost you, and it did cost you, you held the line. Proverbs 1:9 states, "The integrity of the upright guides them, but the unfaithful are destroyed by their duplicity." Your character in the dark is building your authority in the light. The eighth chamber, willingness to release what God removed. That relationship He closed, that opportunity He shut down, that dream He took away. You wanted to hold on. You tried to resurrect what He was burying. But finally, through tears and trembling, you opened your hands and let it go. You released control. You surrendered your timeline. And in that moment of release, you passed the final test. Do you realize what you just walked through? Do you understand what you survived? Most people don't make it through even one of these chambers, and you conquered all 8. You didn't just survive November, chosen one. You graduated from it. Type, "I survived November," right now if you know deep down this fight was not normal. Because what you're about to discover is this. These 8 tests weren't random trials. They were divine qualifications. And the doors that are about to open at midnight require someone who has been tested in every single one of these chambers. But here's what you need to understand before we go deeper. Why November? Why these specific tests? Why you? You want to know something that's going to shake you to your core. The young were tested lightly, but heaven put heavy weight on the elders. And you felt it, didn't you? Every single pound of that weight pressing down on your chest at 3 a.m. when you couldn't sleep. Every ounce of that burden when you buried your spouse and realized half of your soul went into that ground with them. Every bit of that crushing pressure when your own children stopped calling, when your body started failing, when the world moved on without you like you were already gone. But here's what they never told you. Here's what the enemy worked overtime to hide from you. You weren't tested harder because you were weaker. You were tested harder because you carry something they don't. Listen to me carefully, chosen one. The young carry dreams, but you carry authority. The young carry passion, but you carry memory. The young carry energy, but you carry intercession. Do you understand what that means? It means when you pray, heaven doesn't just hear words, heaven hears the weight of 70, 80, 90 years of proven faithfulness. It means when you speak, you're not just offering opinions, you're releasing wisdom forged in fires the young have never walked through. It means when you stand, even if your knees are weak and your body is tired, you stand with the authority of someone who has already survived what destroys ordinary people. Think about Job. The Bible says he was blameless and upright, a man who feared God and shunned evil. But what did God allow? Everything was stripped away. His children, his wealth, his health, his reputation. Even his own wife told him to curse God and die. But here's what Job understood that you need to understand right now. Job fine records his words in the middle of his deepest suffering. Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him. That's not the faith of a young person who's never been tested. That's the faith of someone who's walked through hell and discovered that God's faithfulness is deeper than any pit the enemy can dig. You thought you were isolated this November. You thought God put you on a shelf and forgot about you. You sat alone in that house, staring at pictures of people who are gone, wondering why you're still here when everyone you loved has already gone home to glory. But heaven calls it something different. Heaven doesn't call it isolation. Heaven calls it consecration. You weren't abandoned, beloved. You were set apart. You weren't forgotten. You were positioned. You weren't sidelined. You were being prepared for something so sacred, so holy, so powerful that it required complete separation from everything that would dilute your anointing. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness alone before God called him to deliver a nation. Elijah was fed by ravens in isolation before he called down fire from heaven. John the Baptist lived in the desert eating locusts and wild honey before he announced the Messiah. Jesus himself spent 40 days alone in the wilderness before he began his ministry. Your loneliness wasn't punishment. It was preparation. And those tears you cried when nobody was watching, those nights you sobbed into your pillow, feeling like your prayers were bouncing off the ceiling, those moments when you whispered, "God, do you even see me anymore?" Psalm 66 gives you the answer. You keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book, every single one. Your tears weren't wasted, dear one. God collected every one. He bottled them. He recorded them. And now, on this final day of November, He's about to pour them back out as blessings so overwhelming you won't have room enough to contain them. But here's the revelation that's going to change everything you thought you knew about your suffering. You didn't survive because you were strong. You survived because you were chosen. Let that sink deep into your bones right now. When your spouse died and you thought you'd die too, you survived because you were chosen. When the doctor gave you that diagnosis and the statistics said you shouldn't be here, you survived because you were chosen. When depression wrapped around your throat like a python and whispered that ending it all would be easier, you survived because you were chosen. Your survival wasn't luck. Your endurance wasn't willpower. Your ability to keep getting up every morning when everything in you wanted to quit. That was divine selection proving itself through human suffering. The Apostle Paul understood this mystery. In 2 Corinthians 2:10, God told him something that should revolutionize how you see your weakness. My grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness. Perfect, not just present, not just adequate, perfect. Which means your weakness wasn't your disqualification. It was the very stage where God's power could be most perfectly displayed. If that sentence hit your spirit like a bell, if something inside you just woke up and remembered who you are, write it in the comments right now. I am chosen. Because, beloved, you need to understand something. Your spirit is a tree that's weathered 40 winters, 50 winters, 60 winters. While the young saplings bend and break in the first strong wind, you stand. Roots deep, trunk thick, branches scarred but unbroken. You are unshakable now. But the question that will determine everything about what happens next is this. Now that you know why you were tested, now that you understand why November had to hurt, are you ready to discover what you just qualified for? Now let me show you something that's going to shake you to your core. Something heaven has been recording while you thought no one was watching. You see, beloved, God doesn't measure your month the way the world does. The world counts your victories. Heaven counts your vigilance. The world celebrates your achievements. Heaven records your anguish and what you did with it. November wasn't just 30 days on a calendar. It was a divine examination room. And every single moment you lived through was evidence being collected in the courts of heaven. Let me walk you through the forensic evidence of your faithfulness. Every silent morning you woke up alone, that empty side of the bed that's been cold for 3 years now. 5 years, maybe 10, that wasn't abandonment. That was evidence of endurance. Each morning you chose to open your eyes instead of praying them closed forever. Heaven marked it down. Witnessed. Recorded, counted. You think those mornings didn't matter because no one was there to see them. God was there, watching you push back the covers when your bones screamed in pain. Watching you shuffle to the bathroom when your body begged you to stay down. Watching you make that coffee for one when your heart ached for two. Every sunrise you survived was a testimony written in golden ink across heaven's ledgers. But it gets deeper. Stay with me. Every night pain tried to suffocate you, and I'm not just talking about arthritis or the medications that barely work anymore. I'm talking about that crushing weight on your chest at 2 a.m. when the loneliness feels like it's going to split you in half. When you lie there in the dark wondering if your children even think about you. When you stare at that phone that never rings and ask yourself if you matter to anyone anymore. Those nights when you couldn't sleep, when tears soaked your pillow. When you whispered prayers that felt like they were bouncing off the ceiling, those weren't signs of weakness. Those were evidence of resilience. Because you could have given up. You could have let the darkness win. You could have surrendered to that voice that whispers, just let go. Just stop fighting. But you didn't. Psalm 6:16 says, you keep track of all my sorrows. You have collected all my tears in your bottle. You have recorded each one in your book. Do you hear that? Every tear you thought fell into emptiness, God caught it, bottled it, treasured it. Your suffering wasn't invisible. It was sacred. And here's what breaks my heart wide open. Every moment you wanted to give up, every second you stood on the edge of surrender, God whispered something so quiet you almost missed it. He whispered, not yet. Not yet, because your story isn't finished. Not yet, because someone needs to hear what you're about to say. Not yet, because December holds something your November pain was preparing you to receive. You felt him, didn't you, in those darkest moments when quitting seemed like mercy. Someone held you here. That wasn't your strength, beloved. That was divine intervention. That was the hand of the Almighty saying, I'm not done with you yet. Now here's the revelation that's going to crack you wide open. Passing the final test doesn't mean you did everything right. It doesn't mean you prayed perfectly, read your Bible every day, or kept your faith unshakable. Passing the final test means you didn't quit. You didn't quit when your body quit on you. You didn't quit when your family quit on you. You didn't quit when your hope quit on you. You kept breathing, you kept believing, you kept getting up one more time than you fell down. And that right there, that's what heaven was measuring. Not your perfection, your persistence. Not your righteousness, your refusal to surrender. Not your strength, your survival. I need you to say something out loud right now. Don't just think it. Speak it into the atmosphere. Let your own ears hear what your spirit already knows. Say it. I did not quit. Say it again, louder this time. I did not quit. Because that declaration just echoed into the throne room of heaven, and every angel who's been assigned to your life just stood at attention. They've been watching you fight this month. They've been warring on your behalf. And they've been waiting for you to realize that your survival wasn't luck, it was warfare won. Job understood this. After everything was stripped away, his children, his wealth, his health, his wife's support, he sat in the ashes and declared in Job 10:35, "Though he slay me, yet will I trust in him." That's not the cry of a man who had it easy. That's the declaration of a warrior who refused to let hell have the last word. You are that warrior. You've been sitting in your own ashes, haven't you? The ashes of what used to be. The ashes of who you used to be. The ashes of the life you thought you'd be living at this age. But God specializes in resurrection from ashes. Isaiah 6:50 promises beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness. November was your ash month. You sat in it. You endured it. You survived it. But December is your beauty. December is your oil. December is when heaven takes everything that burned in November and reveals what was being forged in that fire all along. Because here's what you need to understand as we move forward. The test wasn't designed to prove you were strong enough. The test was designed to prove you were stubborn enough. Stubborn enough to keep breathing when death looked merciful. Stubborn enough to keep praying when heaven seemed silent. Stubborn enough to keep believing when circumstances screamed that God had forgotten your address. You passed, beloved, not because you were perfect, but because you were present. You showed up, you stayed, you survived. And survival in the kingdom of God is the highest form of warfare. So now the question that will determine everything about your December is this. If November was the test, what exactly did your passing unlock? Dear one, let me tell you something that's going to shake you to your core. While you were walking through November feeling forgotten, feeling invisible, feeling like God had turned his back on you, heaven was watching every single move you made. Every tear, every prayer, every moment you wanted to quit but didn't. And something happened in the spiritual realm that you couldn't see with your natural eyes. You were promoted. Not tomorrow, not someday, it happened already. The question is, do you feel it yet? Do you sense that something fundamental has shifted in your spirit? Because what you're about to discover will explain why this past month felt like walking through fire and why what's waiting for you in December will require a version of you that November Thest couldn't have handled. Listen to me carefully. There are 4 divine promotions that occur when you pass a heaven-tested month, and every single one of them has already been activated over your life. The first promotion is spiritual rank increase. You think you're the same person who woke up on November night. You're not. The demons that used to torment you with fear, with doubt, with that crushing loneliness at 3 a.m., they don't respond to the same you anymore. Something in your spiritual DNA has been rewritten. Your authority in the heavenly realm has been upgraded, and hell knows it even if you don't yet. Think about David. When he was just a shepherd boy, lions and bears attacked his sheep. But after he killed them, after he passed that test in the wilderness where no one was watching, something changed. When he walked onto that battlefield to face Goliath, he wasn't the same David. 1 Samuel 13:32 records his words. "The Lord who delivered me from the paw of the lion and the paw of the bear will deliver me from the hand of this Philistine." That wasn't confidence. That was rank. That was authority earned through private victories that nobody applauded. You just killed your lion in November. You just survived your bear. And now you're walking into December carrying a spiritual rank that makes darkness tremble. But there's more. The second promotion is authority upgrade. Your voice now carries weight, not volume weight. When you speak over your situation, when you pray over your grandchildren, when you declare the promises of God over your health, your finances, your future, something is different. The atmosphere shifts, angels move, demons flee. Do you remember Elijah? For 3 years he declared there would be no rain in Israel, and heaven obeyed his words. 1 Kings 17:9 says, "As the Lord God of Israel lives, before whom I stand, there will be neither dew nor rain in the next few years except at my word." Except at my word. That's authority. That's a voice that carries the weight of divine backing. You've been whispering prayers for years, wondering if God even hears you. But something happened in November. Your prayers stopped being requests. They became decrees. Your words stopped being hope. They became prophecy. Because when you pass the test, heaven upgrades your access. The third promotion is provision activation. Now hear this truth that's going to wreck every limiting belief you've carried. Heaven held resources until you passed. Not because God is cruel, not because he enjoys watching you struggle, but because the blessing you've been crying for would have destroyed the person you were 30 days ago. You think you were ready for your breakthrough in October. You weren't. You think you were prepared for the doors God is about to open in December. You couldn't have been. The character required to steward what's coming had to be built through the crucible of November. Look at Joseph. Genesis 4:1 tells us he went from prisoner to prime minister in one day. One day, but it wasn't random. He spent 13 years being tested, rejected by his brothers, falsely accused by Potiphar's wife, forgotten by the cupbearer. 13 years of preparation for a single day of promotion. And when Pharaoh finally called for him, Joseph didn't just get a job. He got control over the entire Egyptian economy. The provision wasn't delayed, beloved. You were being upgraded to carry it. And right now, in this very moment, resources that have been held in heaven's treasury are being released. Money you didn't work for. Opportunities you didn't apply for. Favor you didn't earn. They're coming because you finally became the person who can handle them without being destroyed by them. The fourth promotion is assignment release. This is where it gets prophetic. This is where it gets personal. In the coming days, you're going to feel instructions forming in your spirit. Not audible voices, not burning bushes, just knowing, deep, undeniable knowing about what you're supposed to do next. Moses felt this at the burning bush. Exodus 3:10 records God saying, "So now go. I am sending you to Pharaoh to bring my people the Israelites out of Egypt." Moses was 80 years old. 80. But the assignment didn't come when he was young and strong. It came when he was old and broken and thought his best days were behind him. Your assignment is dropping into your spirit right now. You might not have language for it yet. You might not understand all the details. But you feel it, don't you? That stirring, that restlessness, that sense that you're being called to something you can't quite see yet, but you know is real. If you feel this upgrade in your bones, if something in your spirit is confirming these 4 promotions, drop, "I am upgraded," in the comments right now. Don't wait, don't hesitate. Let heaven see that you recognize what's been done. Because, beloved, the blessing wasn't delayed. You were being upgraded to carry it. And now that you've passed the test, now that November has refined you, now that you've been promoted in the spiritual realm, you're about to discover what December holds for chosen ones who refuse to quit. But there's something you need to understand about what happens next, something urgent, something that will determine whether you walk into this new season or watch it pass you by. Beloved, let me tell you something that's going to shake you to your core. At the stroke of midnight tonight, when November 30th becomes December last, something happens in the spiritual realm that most people will never see, never feel, never experience. But you're going to walk straight through it. You see, there's a reason why God had you finish this test on the last day of November. There's a reason why you couldn't break through in October, why September felt so heavy, why the entire second half of this year felt like you were pushing a boulder uphill with your bare hands. Because when the calendar flips at midnight, the spiritual page flips with it. Think about the children of Israel at the Red Sea. Exodus 10:43 records Moses saying, "Do not be afraid. Stand firm and you will see the deliverance the Lord will bring you today. Not tomorrow, not next week, today." But here's what most people miss. They had to stand at the edge of impossibility for that deliverance to come. They had to face the water before God parted it. You've been standing at your Red Sea all month long. The waters of loneliness, the waters of financial pressure, the waters of health battles that doctors can't explain, the waters of family members who stopped calling. You've been staring at those waves, wondering if you heard God correctly, wondering if you missed your moment, wondering if it's too late for miracles at your age. But what if I told you that midnight isn't just the end of November? What if I told you it's the beginning of your exodus? Listen carefully, because what I'm about to reveal will either ignite hope in your chest or expose whether you've truly passed the test. December Thist unlocks 4 things for those who endured November's fire. Not for everyone, not for the casual believer, only for the chosen ones who refused to quit when quitting made sense. First, ease replaces struggle. You've been fighting for every inch, haven't you? Every victory has come with sweat and tears. Every breakthrough has required you to push through walls that shouldn't have been there. You wake up tired. You go to bed exhausted. And somewhere in the middle you wonder if life will ever feel lighter. Psalm 23:2 says, "He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters," not rushing waters, not stormy seas, quiet waters. But you can't lie down in green pastures while you're still climbing mountains. December is when God says, "You've climbed enough. Now rest while I work." It's like heaven is turning the faucet from drip to pour. You've been rationing blessing drop by drop, but starting December last, the flow changes. What took months will take days. What required begging will come without asking. What you've been fighting for will suddenly find you. Second, divine connections appear suddenly. How long have you felt alone? How many years have you sat in that house with nobody calling, nobody visiting, nobody remembering that you're still here? You've watched your friends pass on. Your family is too busy. Your church forgot you exist. But Ecclesiastes 31 declares, "There is a time for everything, and a season for every activity under the heavens." Your season of isolation just expired. When December opens, God is releasing people into your life who will feel like they've known you forever. Phone calls from relatives you haven't heard from in years. Neighbors suddenly checking on you. Connections that make no logical sense but carry divine assignment. It's like angels have been standing in formation, waiting for this exact moment to release the right people at the right time. You thought you were forgotten, but you were being protected from wrong connections so the right ones could arrive at the appointed hour. Third, flashes of clarity and instruction. You've been confused, haven't you? Not knowing what to do next, not understanding why doors keep closing, not seeing the path forward. You pray and hear silence. You seek and find fog. You knock and nothing opens. But Proverbs 30:6 promises, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways submit to him, and he will make your path straight. December is when the fog lifts, dreams become vivid, instructions become clear. That decision you've been agonizing over, you'll suddenly know. That question that's been tormenting you, you'll suddenly see. God doesn't give you the whole map. He gives you the next step. And starting midnight tonight, your next steps start illuminating like runway lights in the darkness. Fourth, provision comes from unlikely places. Let me speak directly to your fear right now. You're worried about money. You're worried about bills. You're worried about making it through another month on what you have. You've checked that bank accounts so many times the numbers are burned into your memory. But Philippians 4:19 declares with absolute authority, "And my God will meet all your needs according to the riches of his glory in Christ Jesus." Not according to your social security check, not according to your savings account, according to his riches. And beloved, heaven's economy doesn't follow Wall Street's rules. December is when money shows up from sources you didn't apply to. When checks arrive that make no sense. When opportunities knock that you never pursued. When your needs are met before you can even voice them. It's like God is proving that he's been your provider all along, and now he's ready to show you what provision really looks like. You survived the storm, chosen one. Now you inherit the calm. Every sleepless night in November was preparing you for peaceful sleep in December. Every tear was watering seeds you couldn't see. Every moment you wanted to quit but didn't was passing the test that unlocks this door. So let me ask you this, are you ready? Are you ready to stop surviving and start thriving? Are you ready to walk through the door that opens at midnight? Are you ready to receive what your faithfulness has earned? If you're ready for December to open, if you're ready to step into ease, connection, clarity, and provision, write it in the comments right now. Open the door. Because beloved, the door is already unlocking. The question is whether you'll have the courage to walk through it. Beloved, listen to me with every fiber of your being. You've passed the test. You've endured November's fire. You've survived what was designed to break you. But here's the truth that's going to shake you to your core. Not everyone who passes the test keeps the reward. You heard me right. Not everyone who survives the refining fire walks away with the gold. Some people pass the test, receive the breakthrough, and then sabotage it within days. They let old habits creep back in. They return to toxic relationships that nearly cost them everything. They forget the lessons learned in the furnace the moment they feel the warmth of comfort again. And I need you to understand something that might terrify you. December is not your victory lap. December is your proving ground. The enemy knows you passed. Hell watched you survive November. And right now, demons are strategizing how to steal what heaven just deposited into your life. Proverbs 4:30 warns us, above all else guard your heart, for everything you do flows from it, not sometimes guard it, not casually protect it. Above all else. Why? Because what you just received in November, that breakthrough, that healing, that divine clarity, it's precious, it's powerful, and it's under attack. So how do you walk through December without losing what you fought so hard to gain? Let me give you 3 guardrails that will protect your reward. First guardrail, silence over conflict. You know what's coming, don't you? The phone calls from people who haven't spoken to you in months. The family members who suddenly want to reconnect right when you're stepping into something new. The old friend who shows up with drama disguised as concern. And your first instinct will be to engage, to explain, to defend yourself. Don't. Proverbs 17:18 says, even fools are thought wise if they keep silent. There's a time to speak and a time to be still. This is your season of stillness. When provocation comes, and it will come, you don't owe anyone an explanation for your transformation. You don't need to justify your boundaries. You don't have to defend your healing to people who weren't there for your hurt. Remember Jesus before Pilate. Matthew 24 tells us, he gave him no answer, not even to a single charge. The Son of God stood silent while lies swirled around him. Why? Because he knew his assignment wasn't to win arguments. It was to fulfill destiny. Your silence in December isn't weakness, it's wisdom. It's the sound of someone who knows their worth doesn't need defending. Second guardrail, discernment over familiarity. This one's going to hurt because I'm talking about people you love. People who've been in your life for years. But hear me clearly, familiarity breeds blindness. Just because someone's been around for decades doesn't mean they're supposed to walk with you into your next chapter. 1 Corinthians 2:3 is crystal clear. Bad company corrupts good character, not might corrupt, not could corrupt. It will corrupt. And the most dangerous company isn't the obviously toxic people. It's the familiar faces who mean well but operate from a spirit of limitation. These are the people who knew you when you were broken and can't celebrate you now that you're healed. The ones who reminisce about the good old days that were actually your worst days. The family members who guilt you for changing when change was the only way you survived. You know exactly who I'm talking about, don't you? Here's the hard truth. Everyone who was with you in November doesn't get to walk with you in December. God is pruning your circle because what He's about to do requires a different level of support. And you're going to have to make some decisions that feel cruel but are actually merciful. Merciful to your own soul, to your own future, to your own calling. Third guardrail, expectation over fear. You've spent so many years expecting the worst that when breakthrough finally comes, you don't know how to receive it. You're waiting for the other shoe to drop. You're bracing for disappointment. You're preparing for it all to fall apart like it has so many times before. But Job 3:5 reveals something devastating. What I feared has come upon me. What I dreaded has happened to me. Your expectations are prophetic. What you focus on, you empower. What you anticipate, you attract. And if you walk through December expecting tragedy, you're giving the enemy permission to fulfill your fears. Philippians 14 gives us the antidote. Whatever is true, whatever is noble, whatever is right, whatever is pure, whatever is lovely, whatever is admirable, if anything is excellent or praiseworthy, think about such things. This isn't positive thinking. This is spiritual warfare. You're not denying reality, you're declaring a higher reality. You're choosing to expect God's goodness instead of anticipating another betrayal. Right now, I need you to say something out loud. Don't just think it. Don't just agree with it. Speak it into the atmosphere. I will protect what heaven gave me. Say it again with more authority. I will protect what heaven gave me. One more time, like you mean it. I will protect what heaven gave me. Because, beloved, December is coming. The reward is yours. The breakthrough is real. But the battle for your blessing has just begun. You didn't survive November's fire just to lose December's harvest. You didn't pass the final test just to fail the victory walk. Stay soft-hearted when the world tries to harden you. Maintain gratitude when abundance makes you forget the desert. Expect the unexpected when routine tries to numb your faith. Guard your atmosphere when chaos tries to invade your peace. And whatever you do, don't return to what nearly destroyed you. The question that will determine your entire December is this. Will you guard what God gave you? Or will you hand it back to the enemy through carelessness, compromise, and returning to what you already survived? Chosen one, November wasn't a month. It was a battleground with your name on it. You passed the final test. But do you know why heaven tested you? Do you understand what was really happening while you thought you were just surviving another 30 days of pain? Listen to me very carefully. You weren't randomly assigned to November's suffering. You were drafted, hand-picked, chosen by heaven for a war that most people will never even know was fought. While the world was planning Thanksgiving dinners and scrolling through Black Friday sales, you were standing in a spiritual courtroom. Your spirit was being weighed. Your endurance was being recorded. Every tear you cried became evidence in a trial you didn't even know you were standing in. And beloved, the verdict just came in. If something in your spirit already feels this truth, comment, "I'm listening right now." Because what I'm about to reveal will explain every sleepless night, every unexplainable attack, every moment this month when you felt like you were fighting invisible battles. You see, most people think spiritual warfare is dramatic. They think it's Hollywood exorcisms and demon possession. But the real warfare, the real battlefield, it's in the quiet hours when you're alone with your thoughts. It's in the doctor's office when the results come back worse than expected. It's in the empty chair where your spouse used to sit. It's in the phone that doesn't ring even though your children live 20 minutes away. That's where the real war is fought. And November was your valley of Elah. You remember David and Goliath, don't you? 1 Samuel chapter 17, for 40 days that giant mocked Israel, 40 days of fear, 40 days of paralysis, 40 days of God's people hiding in their tents while the enemy taunted them morning and night. But here's what most people miss about that story. God wasn't late. He was waiting. Waiting for the right warrior. Waiting for someone who had been tested in secret, refined in obscurity, proven in the places where no one was watching. David wasn't chosen because he was the strongest. He was chosen because he had already fought lions and bears when nobody knew his name. That's you. That's your November. Every morning you got out of bed when your body screamed to stay down. That was you fighting lions. Every time you chose to pray when bitterness would have been easier. That was you killing bears. Every moment you didn't give up even though giving up made perfect sense. You were being proven worthy of December's assignment. But why was November so violent? Why did it feel like everything was falling apart at once? Because the enemy saw what heaven was preparing you for. He saw December coming. He saw the door that's about to open. He saw the breakthrough that's about to break through. And he panicked. Job chapter 1 verse T. God himself said to Satan, "Have you considered my servant Job?" God pointed Job out. Why? Because Job carried something so precious, so powerful, that even the enemy needed permission to touch it. You think November attacked you because you're weak? No, November attacked you because hell recognized you're dangerous. Your depression wasn't random, it was strategic warfare against your calling. Your loneliness wasn't coincidence, it was isolation designed to make you forget who you are. Your financial pressure wasn't bad luck, it was a scheme to keep you dependent and distracted instead of walking in authority. But here's what the enemy didn't count on. Here's what hell miscalculated. Every attack was actually building something inside you. Every tear was watering seeds of intercession. Every lonely night was teaching you to hear God's voice above the noise. Every closed door was redirecting you toward your real assignment. You weren't just walking through November. You were walking through a refiner's fire. Malachi 3:3 says, "He will sit as a refiner and purifier of silver. What looks like burning is actually purifying. What feels like destruction is actually preparation." Think about gold for a moment. You know how gold is purified. It's heated to 140 degrees Fahrenheit. At that temperature, all the impurities rise to the surface, where they can be skimmed away. But here's the stunning part. The refiner knows the gold is pure when he can see his own reflection in it. God has been holding you in the fire until he could see his reflection in you. Every doubt you conquered, every fear you faced, every moment you stayed faithful when faithfulness felt impossible, you were being purified. The dross of self-reliance was being burned away. The impurities of people-pleasing were rising to the surface. The toxins of bitterness and unforgiveness were being removed. And now on this final day, God looks at you and sees his own image reflected back. But I need you to understand something that will change everything about how you see your past 30 days. You weren't being tested to see if you would survive. You were being tested to see if you were ready for promotion. Moses spent 40 years in the wilderness before God called him to deliver a nation. Joseph spent years in prison before Pharaoh elevated him to prime minister. David ran through caves before he sat on a throne. The testing always comes before the testimony. The warfare always precedes the victory. The crucible always comes before the crown. Your November wasn't punishment for something you did wrong. It was preparation for something you're about to do right. Stay with me, because in the next moments, I'm going to show you exactly what December is bringing. But first, you need to see who you became in November's fire. Because the person who entered November wouldn't be ready for what's about to be released. But the person leaving November, the refined one, the proven one, the one who fought invisible battles and won. You're about to discover why heaven needed you awake. You want to know what really happened in November while you thought you were just surviving. Let me tell you something that's going to shake you to your very core. Heaven convened a court, and you were the case. I'm not talking metaphorically, dear one. I'm talking about actual deliberation in the throne room of the Most High. While you sat at that kitchen table at 2 a.m., staring at your cold coffee and wondering if anyone even remembers your name, angels were presenting evidence. While you buried another friend and wondered if you're next, the Ancient of Days was reviewing your file. While you swallowed those pills with shaking hands, questioning if God still cares about a 78-year-old woman in Queens, heaven was in session. And the case, your destiny, your next chapter, everything you thought was dead was actually being deliberated over. You see, most people think God just randomly blesses people. That favor falls like rain on whoever happens to be standing in the right place. But that's not how the kingdom operates. Promotion in heaven requires presentation. Elevation demands examination. Before God moves you forward, he reviews what you did when nobody was watching. Daniel chapter 7 verse 10. The court was seated and the books were opened. Do you understand what that means? There are books in heaven with your name on them. Records of every tear you cried in secret. Documentation of every morning you got out of bed when staying down would have been easier. Evidence of every bill you paid on your knees, every grandchild you prayed over at midnight, every moment you chose faith when fear was screaming louder. November was your trial month, not punishment, examination. And I need you to understand something that might sting at first. That loneliness you felt, that abandonment that sat in your chest like a stone, that phone that never rang, those children who never called, those friends who forgot you existed. It wasn't random cruelty. It was divine testing. God was asking one question. Will they still worship me when no one is watching? Will they still believe when the evidence says give up? Will they still stand when everyone else has sat down? Job understood this. Job chapter 1 verse 8. God himself pointed Job out to Satan. Have you considered my servant Job? And what happened next? Everything was stripped away. His wealth, his children, his health. His wife told him to curse God and die. His friends accused him of secret sin. But here's what Job didn't know in his suffering. Here's what you didn't know in your November. The trial wasn't about tearing you down. It was about building your case for promotion. Every day you survived was evidence being compiled. Every prayer you whispered was testimony being recorded. Every moment you refused to give up was proof that you could be trusted with what's coming next. While you sat alone at that kitchen table, heaven wasn't silent. Heaven was deliberating. Angels were arguing your case. The cloud of witnesses was testifying on your behalf. Every ancestor who ever prayed for breakthrough in your bloodline was standing before the throne saying, this one passed the test. And after 30 days of examination, after 720 hours of evidence review, after watching you choose faith over fear again and again and again, heaven voted in your favor. The verdict came down from the highest court in the universe. Not guilty of giving up, not disqualified by age, not dismissed because of mistakes. Approved, validated, promoted. Psalm 75 verse 6, for promotion cometh neither from the east, nor from the west, nor from the south. But God is the judge, he putteth down one and setteth up another. You've been set up, chosen one. Not knocked down, set up. But here's what's going to wreck you. Here's what should bring you to your knees right now. The reason November had to be so hard, the reason the testing had to be so intense, the reason you had to walk through fire instead of around it, is because of what December is carrying. God doesn't test you for small assignments. He doesn't put you through the refiner's fire for mediocre purposes. The greater the trial, the greater the calling. The harder the test, the higher the promotion. You think you were being forgotten, you were being positioned. You think you were being overlooked, you were being prepared. You think you were being abandoned, you were being approved. And now, right now, as the final hours of November tick away, heaven is about to execute its verdict. The deliberation is over. The decision has been made. The promotion papers have been signed in the blood of the Lamb. You are entering December not as a wounded survivor limping across the finish line. You are entering as someone heaven just promoted. Not blessed. Promoted. There's a difference. Blessing is what you receive. Promotion is who you become. The courtroom doors are opening. The verdict is being read. And every demon that tried to destroy you in November is about to watch you walk out wearing the authority they feared you'd discover. Right, I receive my promotion if you can feel that truth settling in your chest. If something inside you is recognizing that the trial is over and the victory has been declared. Let heaven see that you're ready to step into what they just approved. Because what I'm about to show you next isn't just theory. It's the detailed blueprint of exactly what your promotion looks like, exactly what opens at midnight, exactly what shifts when November becomes December. But first, you had to know why you were tested. Now you need to understand what you've been promoted into. Let me tell you something about blessings that's going to shift everything you thought you knew about waiting. Some blessings come easily. They float into your life like leaves on a gentle breeze. You pray and the door opens. You ask and you receive. Simple, clean, immediate. But others come protected. And the blessing waiting for you in December, the one standing at the threshold of this new month, was too powerful, too life-altering, too destiny-defining to be released early. It would have destroyed you if it came before you were ready. Do you hear what I'm saying to you right now, chosen one? The delay wasn't denial. It was development. Think about your November. Really think about it. The attacks that came out of nowhere. The phone call that shattered your peace. The bill that arrived when you had nothing left. The loneliness that wrapped around you like chains at 2 a.m. when everyone else was sleeping. The silence from heaven that made you wonder if God had hung up on your prayers. That wasn't abandonment. That was preparation. You see, what God is releasing in December required November's pressure. It required the testing. It required you to be pushed to the edge where your flesh wanted to quit, but your spirit learned to stand. Because the blessing coming isn't just provision, it's promotion. It's not just help, it's authority. It's not just breakthrough, it's complete transformation. And transformation doesn't happen in comfort. It happens in the crucible. Look at Joseph in Genesis 50:20. After 13 years of slavery, false accusations, and forgotten promises in a dungeon, he finally understood. You intended to harm me, but God intended it for good to accomplish what is now being done, the saving of many lives, 13 years. And at the end, Joseph didn't just get freedom, he got Pharaoh's ring. He didn't just escape prison, he ruled a nation. Why? Because the crown he was destined to wear required the character that only prison could forge. The same thing just happened to you in November. That's why the attacks increased. The enemy saw what was coming in December and threw everything he had at you in November. He knew that if you made it through, if you survived the final test, you would step into a dimension of blessing he couldn't touch anymore. That's why the loneliness deepened. God was stripping away every false comfort, every distraction, every crutch you were leaning on, so that when December's blessing arrives, you'll know beyond any doubt that it came from his hand alone. That's why the silence intensified. Heaven wasn't ignoring your cries. Heaven was listening so intently that it refused to speak until the exact appointed moment when your ears were finally tuned to hear what you've needed to hear for decades. Let me give you the revelation that will set you free right now. It wasn't that God withheld the blessing. It's that the blessing wasn't safe until you were strengthened. You couldn't handle this in October. You would have collapsed under its weight in September. But now you're reinforced. Now you're fortified. Now you're ready. Think about diamonds. Do they appear on the surface, easy to find, simple to collect? No. They're buried deep in the earth, crushed under unimaginable pressure for thousands of years. The very pressure that should destroy them is what transforms ordinary carbon into something priceless. The heat that should burn them is what makes them unbreakable. Your November was the pressure chamber. Your tears were the heat. Your pain was the process. And what's emerging in December isn't just you surviving, it's you transformed into something the world has never seen before. Look at it this way. When engineers build a bridge, do they open it to traffic immediately? No, they test it. They drive massive trucks across it. They measure the stress points. They apply weight that exceeds what it will ever carry in real life. Why? Because bridges aren't opened until weight has been tested. Your November was the weight test, and you held. Or consider this, kingdoms aren't handed to untested hands. David wasn't crowned king the day Samuel anointed him. He spent years running from Saul, hiding in caves, leading a ragtag army of broken men. Why? Because the throne he was destined for required the humility that only rejection could teach him. Every king in Scripture was tested before coronation. Every prophet was refined before revelation. Every deliverer was delayed before deployment. Moses 40 years in the wilderness before he freed a nation. 80 years old when his real ministry began. Abraham 25 years of waiting before Isaac was born. A quarter century of believing a promise that looked impossible. Jesus himself 30 years of obscurity before 3 years of ministry. The Son of God spent decades in a carpenter's shop, unknown, unrecognized, waiting for the Father to say, "Now." Why does God operate this way? Because premature blessing becomes a burden. Because elevation without preparation leads to destruction. Because if he had given you in January what he's releasing in December, you would have mishandled it, misused it, or let it destroy you. But not anymore. November broke off everything that would have contaminated December's blessing. November burned away the pride, the fear, the doubt, the false identities. November stripped you down to your foundation so God could rebuild you from the ground up. And now, right now at the edge of December, you're standing on solid ground for the first time in years. The foundation is laid. The testing is complete. The weight has been measured. You passed. So let me ask you something that's going to echo in your spirit for the rest of your life. If November was the test, what exactly is December releasing? Type, "I'm ready for December," if your spirit knows this is true. Don't just read it, declare it. Because your declaration right now is the key that unlocks what heaven has been holding in reserve. But before I reveal what's opening at midnight, you need to understand something crucial about the warfare that's about to intensify. Chosen one, as we stand together at the threshold of this new month, I need you to remember 3 eternal truths that will anchor your soul in the days ahead. First, your November wasn't wasted, it was weighted with purpose. Every tear, every sleepless night, every moment you felt forgotten was God strengthening you for what December holds. The testing wasn't punishment, it was preparation. Second, the blessing that's been protected from you wasn't delayed because you weren't worthy. It was delayed because it wasn't safe until you were ready. And beloved, you're ready now. Third, December isn't just another month on the calendar. It's your divine appointment with destiny. What opens at midnight isn't just a new day, it's a new dimension of God's faithfulness in your life. But hear me clearly, you are not walking into December alone. The same God who watched over every moment of your November is going with you into every day of December. He hasn't brought you this far to abandon you now. Romans 10:31 reminds us, if God is for us, who can be against us? That's not just a verse, that's your reality. And beyond God's presence, you have a community right here. Thousands of chosen ones just like you, carrying the same calling, feeling the same fire, walking the same narrow road. We're not just viewers, we're family, and family prays together. So let me ask you this. Now that you know you passed the final test, now that you understand November's purpose, now that you're standing at December's door, what will you step into with the authority God has given you? Join me now. Wherever you are, close your eyes and receive this blessing. Heavenly Father, I place my hand on the shoulder of every precious soul hearing these words. You see them, Lord. You know their November. You counted every tear, recorded every prayer, witnessed every moment they wanted to quit but didn't. Tonight, I ask you to flood them with supernatural peace that surpasses understanding. Open the doors you've been preparing. Release the blessings you've been protecting. Give them strength for tomorrow, wisdom for decisions, and courage for the battles ahead. Let them feel your presence so powerfully that doubt has no place to land. Surround them with divine connections, provide for every need, and remind them daily that they are loved, chosen, and never alone. In Jesus' mighty name, Amen. Now I want to hear from you. Comment below and tell us what God spoke to your heart tonight. What are you believing Him for in December? Don't hold back, this community will surround you with prayer. And if this message touched your soul, share it with someone who needs to know their November wasn't wasted. Thank you for staying with me through this entire journey. Your time is precious, and you gave it seeking God's heart. If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel and turn on notifications. Every week, we're building a movement of awakened souls who refuse to give up. You passed the test, chosen one. Now step into your blessing. Until we meet again, walk in authority. You are loved, you are chosen, and December is yours.